we'll kick things off, shall we? I just wanted, just before we kick off, and you can either just shout out or Nicole, if you want to type, just kind of keen to understand a bit more about your situation, given that there's just two of you on the call, so we can kind of do a bit more personalized, your situation and perhaps what you're looking to get out of the session, if you can kick off.
Yeah, I finished a bachelor's degree in marketing at the end of last year. So I've been trying to find something, either a grad program or something entry level, depending.
Yep.
Just to really get some advice, I find I tend to get knocked back at the psychometric testing stage. I find that to be, sometimes I get through, sometimes I get knocked back with that one. That's probably not below the scope of this workshop so much.
Yeah.
So it's just some general advice and tips. I mean, I've got through the online interview stage a fair few times.
Sure.
So I'm really, looking for your sort of marketing assistant role, and then grad programs is to put a bit of a focus on it for me.
Yep.
Some general advice.
Yeah, cool. And look, we'll try and cover as much as we can. And if the content today doesn't necessarily answer those specific questions, then please feel free to book some time in with me, and we can do that on a one-on-one basis. So yeah, cool. And we've got Tulsa. Oh,
hello. Sorry, I'm late.
No, don't be silly. All good. Tulsa, could you just very quickly just introduce yourself and just quickly what you're looking to get from the session?
Yeah, I wasn't actually quite sure if I was the appropriate target for this, but I'm looking for a role in UX UI design. Currently just finished a bootcamp program. Did manage to get an internship after that, but still trying to look for a full-time job of some description, ideally paid.
And I would say that you very much come to the right spot. So
excellent.
There'll definitely be some tips on here that will or should hopefully help you. Yeah, cool. And just and Nicole, yourself.
Oh, you're on mute, Nicole.
Difficulties.
Okay, all good.
Can you hear me? Yep. So I have been a studio manager in the beauty industry, and basically I've just outgrown my role and have just been looking for a bit of a challenge and new sort of career pathway. And I've been really interested in the PR and marketing space, but just having trouble obviously with no specific qualifications behind me getting that next step across. I have coincidentally, a role has opened up within my company just over the last week, and they've offered it to me just as a PR coordinator. So that's all very new, but I thought I'd still come on today just so that then I could still excel in everything and then just know the next steps and just my next sort of path and goals.
Awesome. Well, welcome all of you. Look, we'll be going through things fairly quickly today. So look, we will be sending up also notes and things afterwards and resources. So as much as you can, be present. Please feel free to ask a question as we go through. The sessions are a lot more effective when they're interactive. So please don't feel like you just have to sit there and listen to me talk for an hour, because that can be quite long. So cool. I want to firstly, Leah is our marketing manager. She will be taking note of questions, and so please feel free to either in the chat or just ask any questions at any time. So I just wanted to start off and introduce myself for those who aren't aware of who we are. My name's Ryan. I'm the founder of Creative Natives. We're a recruitment agency that specializes in the creative marketing digital space. We have an office in Melbourne, Sydney, Gold Coast. We've recently launched in the UK. And yeah, look, I guess the reason I do these events, and I think this is the fourth or fifth one we've done, recruitment as a business is not necessarily tailored to those graduate positions. So we often get briefed on roles that require a certain level of experience, and I've been in the situation without the experience, and I don't think it's right to not be able to help people at levels if they don't have necessarily the right experience. So that's, I guess, my personal motivation why I do this. And as much as I can, pass on things that I've learned through my 10+ years of recruitment, and kind of just understanding how the market works and how people get opportunities. So this, you know, I'm not a formalized lecturer or anything like that. My formal qualification just comes in the form of doing this day in, day out and having conversations with lots of people. So this is just my opinion, and you know, I'm obviously encourage people to have a different opinion, but hopefully there'll be some things you get from today that will hopefully help you stand out from the crowd and you know, potentially land that dream job. So yeah, cool. So just a very quick top line of what we'll be covering off: how to build a personal brand, how to land an internship, tips to nail your cover letter, the best way to present your work, and practical ways to kickstart your career. Okay, so then we'll leave some time at the end to do a bit of Q&A as well. So yeah, cool. Okay, and then just an overview. Creative Native started in 2019. We're now at 14 people. And for those who follow us on LinkedIn, a huge part of our strategy and how we've got to the position we are in today is through our content and individual personal brands within the organization. So we will touch on that and, you know, the importance of it and how that's going to allow you to stand out from a very cluttered, competitive crowd. Okay. Cool. So I'm just going to very quickly ask around that personal branding, and I know it's a pretty a term that you hear a lot of at the moment, and you'll see people talking about personal brand. But have either of you, any of you, you know, begun the process of sort of building that online personal brand? And, you know, yeah, have you thought about it? You know, is there anything that you'd like to say on that topic to kick off with?
Honestly, I don't really do anything in that path.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to begin. The only thing I've really done is having my LinkedIn banner images match what I sort of have on my cover letter and resume, and that is honestly really it. No content, nothing like that. No LinkedIn, anything. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think first off, you have done more than what I think most people have done. So I don't think you're at the bottom of the rung in terms of that journey. So, you know, well done for at least beginning that process. Tulsa, have you done anything in that space?
She's just said in the chat she's the same as Angela.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, pretty much the same as Angela. I feel like I've more leaned into like a personal story, like what makes me unique as a designer, to try and find, I guess, a way to stand out a little bit. So yeah. I've been more kind of crafting my story than like a visual brand of myself.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, not well though. Not doing it well, obviously.
Well, again, you've begun the process, so you're already at least a starting point. So so yeah, no, that's all good. And I guess the analogy I'll use, and this is why I bring this, and particularly when COVID hit, obviously everything. In-person events stopped, and those networking events stopped, and everything went, you know, hugely online. And LinkedIn, you know, was obviously popular, but in the last few years has absolutely exploded to a platform now which is not necessarily just about you know, it's very much a place to build a personal brand that doesn't necessarily have to reflect a corporate message. Okay, so you're seeing a big rise of people sharing personal information, you know, different types of content, so humorous content, etc., etc. So the reason I talk about networking events and whatnot is LinkedIn is a giant networking event. Okay, and if you think about that as a visual, you would imagine having a room that was a big room, but had all the people that you wanted to work in there, potentially hiring managers, okay? That's a really great, exciting opportunity that if you went back in time, that just wasn't ever a thing, okay? So if you start positioning your mindset to thinking, okay, well, I actually am in a room with every single potential employee, it's now about how you actually behave in that room and how you conduct yourself is going to lead you to having good conversations and potentially opening up opportunities. So if I take one step back and think about how you would go about a networking event, you would go up to someone you meet, you would interact with them, you would build rapport. You wouldn't go up to them and just say, do you have a job? Right? That's just not how human beings work. It's not how you're going to build credibility, etc. So you have to go in with your communication style in the same way that you would do in real life. Okay. So slowly building up that connection with those people that over time will lead them to see you as someone who would be a potential fit for that organization. Okay. So that's kind of a sort of a starting point around, the role LinkedIn plays and where this sort of fits in with you trying to get an opportunity. Okay, so you talked about then telling your story. Okay, that is really important, and I think something that people forget when they are talking about a personal brand is that people buy into people. People want to know about what makes you individual, about what your values are, what you think. Okay, really, have a clear representation online of what your personal values are. Okay, obviously there's a boundaries in which you've got to obviously play within those boundaries and be respectable, be respective, and follow etiquette and things. But there is actually a real free rein to express yourself and to show people what is important to you and what you stand for. Okay, so what we'll now talk about is really practically kind of, okay, so understanding why you do it, but how do you actually get started with this journey? Okay, and I think the first sort of place to start with your profile, it sounds obvious, is your picture. Okay, does your picture reflect the brand that you want to portray today? Does it reflect the industry that you want to be going into? So if you're pursuing a career in the creative space, I would say that your picture or your the visuals of your LinkedIn should reflect that of a creative brand. Okay, and you talked about having the banner matching having a visual balance. That's hugely important. Okay, having an ugly LinkedIn page essentially is a landing page. It's your personal website. Okay, so feel free to play around with that and experiment with that. And like anything, like design-wise, design evolves over time. Okay, so I'm not saying you change that banner every 2 weeks, but don't feel like you need to stick with it and drop and forget, because you honestly, as a recruiter, one of the first things we'll do when we get an application is we'll take your name and we'll put it straight into LinkedIn. I personally, as a recruiter, can gauge more of an impression on someone on LinkedIn than I can just looking at a static CV. Okay, so starting off then is your picture, your banner. Okay, and then actually going into the LinkedIn page itself. There's within the body of your LinkedIn page, there's an opportunity there under features to have samples of work. So you can have your folio in there. You can have pieces of content that you've posted basically on the front page of your LinkedIn. So activate that features section. Again, that's your personal website. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far on that at all?
Just with the banner, what sort of things should be put on there? Like, should you write your job title or the company that you work for, or just like colors to represent like the industry that you're going into, or anything really?
Yeah, look, I mean, I can, I mean, for mine, for example, I choose, or the Creative Natives team have a pink banner that represents the colours of the organisation, so keeps it quite minimal, and it has our slogan on it. Okay, so I think that's very much dependent on you as an individual, what you want your personal brand to say, what service you're offering. But I know that a lot of solopreneurs and those who work for themselves, and particularly freelancers, within their banner will have a call to action and very clear, this is what I do and this is what I can do for your business. Okay, it has to pass the 5-second check. I think if someone looks at your page, you want them to be able to very quickly distinguish between what you're work out what you are and what you can do for them.
Yeah,
okay?
cool.
And that works for businesses, that works for recruiters, etc. You don't want the reader to not have to go, not be very clear around what you do. Okay, so as an exercise, once you actually get your LinkedIn page up and running, you're more than welcome to share with me, and I can give you some constructive feedback on it. You're welcome to check out a lot of the team at Creative Natives. Hopefully they have a very clear call to action within their page, and you should be able to get some guidance on that as well. Okay, and I'll also at the end I'll be sharing with you some LinkedIn profiles to follow that you can then use as inspiration around that.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, so I guess again, kind of sorry, we're sort of jumping around a bit, but I want to kind of mention the two mindsets that you have, and this is very much, I think, where I talk to grads around is you can choose path A is continually apply for roles and not hear back, okay, or you can go on the journey of building a personal brand, connecting with relevant companies, and having that going the whole time and consistently doing that. Now, I can tell you now, they both probably take the same amount of time filling in an application and doing that. But one is continually improving and one is getting rejections. Okay, so I'm just trying to get people to change the mindset of just applying for jobs is not the way to get closer to where you want to get to. Okay, that's just a process that you go through. If anything, I think it's quite demoralizing. I think it can be it can affect your confidence, and you can get in a bit of a rut of apply. Hopefully this way of thinking will make it a bit more sustainable and give you something to work on each week. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we've done the profile picture. We've talked about the banner. I'm assuming that a lot of you are familiar with Canva. Yeah. There's really easy ways of creating great visual effects on your banner, as well as your CV itself. Okay, we're not there yet in terms of is the CV redundant, but I would definitely say that it is moving towards that way. But at the very minimum at the moment, having a CV that visually looks good with Canva, it's never been easier. Okay. So we've got your LinkedIn profile looking good. Okay, now what we're going to start looking at is how we then start utilizing that to build connections. Okay, so with your LinkedIn, a little fact is you're able to add up to 100 connections a week. Okay, so what an exercise that I would be doing is thinking about who are the businesses I would like to work for. Okay, so for example, you want to get a job in design. I would be thinking, who would my role report into? So is it a head of design? Is it a creative director? Okay, start then building and compiling a list of relevant companies that you want to work for based on your values and what they do, etc., etc. Okay. Once you start building up that list of businesses, then start for each business looking at the relevant point of contact within that. Okay. So again, you're building out your knowledge of the market, you're understanding who works in different organizations, and then you can start utilizing your 100 connections a week. Okay. If you don't feel confident to actually send them a connection request, there's also an option which you can follow someone on LinkedIn. Okay, what that then means is you'll get to see their content on your feed and be able to comment on their feed. Okay, now this is something which I believe is going to probably get you closer to those hiring managers more than anything, is commenting on their content that they post. Okay, most people, regardless of seniority, for them putting out content is quite a vulnerable process. Okay, depends. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO. Doesn't matter, whatever. They're feeling the same vulnerability that most humans feel. Okay, so if they put a piece of content out and you're a person who has commented on that and started a conversation, you are naturally going to be on their radar, and the good chances are you'll actually strike up a conversation. So going back to that analogy of being in a networking event, you're striking up a conversation. Not only are you having a conversation with that hiring manager, you're also getting on the radar of all their followers as well. If they post a piece of content and you're at the top of that piece of content with a conversation, that means that every single person that views that content is then going to see your brand. Okay, so follow. There is a rule of thumb of trying to connect and have comment on 5 bits of content a day. Okay, just literally, again, and this is kind of the way to start the content journey, because it's very easy to say, all right, start writing content each day, and you go, well, I where do I begin? And I feel anxious, and that's all great for extroverts, etc. And I get that, right? So there's a way into that content path, and that's actually having conversations with people's existing content. Okay. So utilize those 100 connections, follow them, start a conversation. And once you actually get that conversation happening, then send them a connection request, because I can almost guarantee that they're going to accept that connection request. Okay. And again, like Instagram, Twitter, they're going to, if you engage with different content, you're going to then feature on their followers' walls, etc. So it's a ripple effect, the way that the LinkedIn algorithm works. Okay. Cool. So once we've started those conversations, and that's where we start building it, then I'm going to start into getting the basis of what you would post about from your own content. Okay. Now, I think also the imposter in all of us thinks that there's nothing interesting that people care about that I've got to say. Okay. Everyone thinks that. It's completely normal. All right. But one thing that I would say is, you think about if you're at a job interview and they were asking you a question, and you would respond to it based on your experience and your thoughts. Okay. So if they would ask you that in an interview, then that's the stuff they would be interested in. So people always are interested in what you've got to say. You've got a different perspective on life. Everyone has got something interesting to say. Okay. So the pillars in which I would base my content around, educational. Okay. You don't have to be a thought leader. It could be something that you've learned at university. I can guarantee you that senior people want to know what's going on at uni level and what people at that age and that demographic are thinking. Okay, so whilst it may seem not relevant, it definitely is. Okay, so providing educational content. Okay, relatable content. Okay, this doesn't mean you need to be super positive, super not be yourself, but actually putting out content which people can make that connection with, whether it be the struggle of finding a job, or whether it be something that you're going through. Okay, people buy into people. People like hearing stories, and people want to know that. Okay, so again, it's that telling those stories, making it relatable, by the way, this also helps with your copywriting skills, which is an incredibly useful skill. Okay. Inspiring. Okay. You know, if you get that interview, or you get something that happens, people like feel good stories. Okay. You know, again, it's a bit out of your comfort zone. People feel like it's a bit awkward talking about themselves. But again, it's telling your story. Okay. It's making people understand you, get behind it. Okay. And as I said, at the end, I'll show you some really good examples of people that have done this exceptionally well. And as a result, have had multiple job opportunities come across them because they've educated their audience, they've made themselves relatable, and guess what? People buy into people and they want to meet them. Okay. So this may seem not relevant, but I can assure you now, this is how connections are being made. Okay. And as I said, if you want to see examples, the Creative Natives team, every person within the business posts content on a pretty much daily basis. We're recruiters, and it's very rarely about recruitment. Okay. People want to know about us as people, and people want to be entertained, and they want all the different things that people want from content. So please feel free to follow any of the team if you're not sure and want some ideas on that. Okay. Any questions on creating content at all? No? Yeah, good. Cool. And obviously it's going to feel a bit cringe at first, and it's going to feel completely out of your comfort zone. But I would just encourage you to try and push through that, and understand that the LinkedIn algorithm isn't going to, you're not going to go viral the first time. It would be impossible to go viral. That's the way that the algorithm works. It's actually more about consistently posting about things. Okay. If it's not stuff personally, that if you don't feel comfortable posting stuff personally, there's a lot of things that you could post within the creative space that again would educate the audience. So trends in design, you know, what are you seeing? What are you being taught? What do you think is the future of design? You know, just giving your perspective on things, again, elevates you into that sort of thought leadership position. Okay. So did someone say they've done an internship? Was that you, Tulsa?
Yeah, I'm currently at an internship 3 days a week, unpaid. So yeah.
Okay.
It's a very small company. It's only 3 people, so perhaps a different kind of experience than someone going into a larger company that perhaps has a roadmap for their interns, whereas this is a little chaotic.
Yeah, sure. And can I ask, how did you go about getting it?
It was a lot of luck. So I went to a UX meetup here in Sydney, met someone in a similar boat to me. She already had an internship at this company. She went and started the internship. One of the other interns actually dropped out. She messaged me. I had just finished my boot camp. She said, "Hey, do you want to apply for this internship?" This person just dropped out. They're kind of desperate for someone. I applied. And I got it. So it was a healthy dose of luck, I think. Right place, right time.
I would argue that, you know, luck is a small part of that. I think actually I think that what you're doing, you're doing a lot of the right things, put it that way. You know, you're doing a boot camp, you're putting yourself in the way of opportunities, you're saying yes to internships, etc., right? You will have a good career. I'm telling you now, because as a recruiter, and I'll kind of talk about this in a second, but if I said at the start, you know, having no experience is very difficult for a recruiter to work with, because, you know, we're ultimately charging a client for a service where the person hasn't proven themselves or there's no experience. Okay. But when someone has done an internship, that for us as recruiters is golden, because it gives us something to talk to the client about. It demonstrates to me initiative, it demonstrates drive, it demonstrates all of those things. And that will then allow us to at least get you in front of someone. Okay. I'm not supporting unpaid internships, right? But ultimately, that's the way of the world in certain situations, right? And you can play I don't want to do an unpaid internship, or you can actually get involved, do it, and know that it's taking you closer to where you want to be. Okay, so I really can't speak highly enough of internships, and even if they are a week, 2 weeks, having a business on your resume is half the battle. Okay, and what also gives agencies is that level of confidence. Okay, well, this person actually wants to do this. They haven't just done a degree and they're just showing up and, you know, we're going to invest in them because you know, and we don't know whether we're going to get anything from that. That's obviously a concern for a lot of businesses, particularly when things tighten. Is, am I just wasting our time and effort on this person? Okay, but if you've done an internship, then I think absolutely that gives you something to go after. So well done there. And I think, honestly, give yourself more credit, because I don't think it's luck, to be honest with you. I think you've just got the right attitude and initiative.
Thank you very much. I needed that.
No. And when does that internship finish?
Finishes end of June. So it's a 3-month internship. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So and then what's the plan after that?
Well, I'm actively job searching right now for either I am open to another internship as well, or a junior role. So I'm hoping, you know, I can secure another role by the time my internship ends, so there's no gap. But yeah, might be wishful thinking in the current conditions.
Well, you're doing all the right things, and just what I remember as well, like thinking about like content that you could produce, is talking about all the great things you've got from this internship and really talk around that as an experience. Again, it's that positivity, right? You can be that person who sees internships as unpaid slave labor, or you could be that real positive person that puts a spin on it. I can guarantee you companies are more likely to speak to you if you're the person that's bringing the positives from the experience to it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, so in terms of again how I would go about applying or getting an internship. So one of the channels that I've suggested in the past to people is there's 2 major publications that in the creative space. So there's Mumbrella and there's Pedestrian TV. They are daily website updates of which clients have won new pieces of work. Okay, so there is your basically information portal of who's just won pieces of work. Okay, so when an agency or business wins a new piece of work, you can say almost certainly that there's going to be an increase in workload. Okay, so you can use that as a reason to reach out to potential owners of businesses. You know, you can approach of congratulations for winning X. That shows you've done a bit of research. It blows, you know, gives them a bit of an ego boost to their business. Well done, you've won this. I can imagine you're going to be very busy over the next few weeks with this new piece of work. I'm reaching out as I would love to work with you, combine my passions, and essentially make your life easier. Okay. All right. I, without any science, would say you're going to have a much better response than if you just reach out and say, can I have an internship? Okay. Again, initiative is the thing that you want to be able to demonstrate as quickly as possible on that one. Okay. Have you seen something that they've said in the press? You know, could you talk to them in there? Hey, loved what you said about X. You know, everyone has an ego and they love being told that something they've said is of value or of importance. Okay, so utilize that mindset when approaching businesses. Okay, show them that you've done a bit of research, show that you know what you're talking about. Okay, so that's just a bit of a tip on the Mumbrella Pedestrian. Okay, and yeah, like I said, I sort of just said I'm currently studying advertising, marketing, PR. Would love to help your agency with the admin work that takes up a lot of your team's time. Okay, just something like that. Okay, low expectations. You're happy to roll your sleeves up and get in there. And guess what? You go in there for a few weeks, show your worth, and before you know it, you're getting offered a full-time role. Okay, so yeah, again, I think it's a better process than just hitting apply on Seek. Yep. Cool. Now I'm going to just go over cover letters quickly, okay? Because there's two chains of thoughts. Cover letters, what is the point of a cover letter when you're just talking about your CV in a different tense, okay? And I genuinely couldn't disagree anymore if I tried, okay? I've hired someone in the past based on their cover letter, because for me, a cover letter is that opportunity to connect your experience with the business itself and be very specific and personal and demonstrate that you know the nuances of that business, okay? So if you are just sending a generic cover letter to every business, completely pointless. You may as well not have a cover letter, okay? I do see cover letters with the wrong company name on it. I mean, that's like, first off, biggest red flag ever. But if you're going to do it properly, okay? And here's a couple of points that I think should be in your cover letter. So articulate why you want to work for the business, and don't be afraid to show some emotion and personality, okay? Don't sit on the fence with this one. If you're passionate about the business that you're trying to apply for, give a reason for it, okay? If they're making the world a greener place, talk about it, okay? But really demonstrate why you want to work for that business, okay? Check out the website and see the company values, okay? Most corporate websites will have some mention of the corporate values. Another tool, which I've only just really kind of thought about, is ChatGPT. If you type in ChatGPT, what are the values of business X, you'll probably be able to find that, okay? So find the values and how those values align with you personally, and connect them in a conversational way, okay? Do some social media stalking and Googling of the CEO or senior leadership team, okay? If you can drop in a mention of something that they've said and make it relevant in your cover letter, I think that's a big hit there as well, okay? And then also look at the company's social media and get their tone of voice, okay? Tone of voice is a really, again, you're always trying to mirror the tone of voice when you're applying for a role. So if you can get a grasp of that and understand the way that they communicate, that is often a reflection of the organization itself. So do that before you start trying to do it. So simple things, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, just see if you can get a grasp of their tone of voice, and that will help you then stand out. Make sense? Yep. Cool. Great. Just quickly here, I'm going to go over this quite quickly because I'm not a creative specialist, but our managing director, Will, is a ex-creative director who's now heading up our UK business. He does a session once a week over video, and it's a portfolio review. Okay, it's free. It goes for half hour, 20 minutes, but he will consult with you around how best to present your work and what the best way to do that is, okay? So I won't go over this too much now because he's far more qualified on that. If you go to our website, under the resources section, there is a section called portfolio review. Click in it, it'll take you to Will's calendar and you'll be able to book in a one-on-one time with him, okay? He does it every week, and I would say it would be extremely valuable for you. Okay. Okay. Cool. And there's a few things. Sorry, we're almost getting near the end, but we're almost there. So a few little practical tips around getting started. Okay. So first off, networking events, attend them. Okay. Meetups, amazing, for building your knowledge, building your network in real life. Like, yes, obviously an online brand is important. but we've got someone starting in our business in a week's time who got into recruitment through a networking event. Okay, you don't know who you're going to be talking to. Go to these events. Don't sit in the corner and and just get out your comfort zone and actually speak to people. And 99% of the time, people are really open to having a conversation, and you just don't know where it's going to lead to. So set yourself a goal of, I don't know, once a month or once a quarter, going out there and putting yourself out there. Okay, because a question you might often get asked in an interview is, what are you seeing in the industry? Yes, you can read stuff online, but getting real time information from people in flesh is I think a very valuable process.
Before you go on, Nicole has asked, how do we find these networking events?
I think General Assembly do a lot of events. There's a lot of the co-working spaces. They host them as well. So Lunch and Learns, they do after work events. Look, in terms of that, I'd just be Googling, to be honest with you. So, if it's UX, I'd be looking at UX meetups in Melbourne, design meetups in Melbourne, just have a play around with them, find out there. Again, going back to that, could that be a part of your content on LinkedIn? Could you be asking, for where the meetups are? Could that be a conversation starter? Again, facilitate conversations. That would be a good way to start that. So yeah, look, there's no one source of information. I think there's a lot available out there, so you just need to have a bit of a look and speak to it. But,
there's also 2 suggestions in the chat of Meetup and Eventbrite as well, so
perfect.
Check those out too.
Exactly. The next one, which is timely for us as well, because we're about to launch our mentor program, where we pair senior senior talent within the industry with those starting out. So what we'll be doing is we'll be opening up applications for that. Really, really useful in the sense that you will get paired with, say, a senior creative. The first session will be around getting to know, and you can pick their brain on what's worked in their career. They'll probably give you a small project to work on, very like a small task. And then the second session, you'll then present back to them with feedback as well. Okay, so super, super useful. I know from experience from our mentor programs in the past, the connections continue way after that. And also it's just an incredible way of getting real insight into how people have carved careers for themselves. Okay, because I think particularly in the creative space, there's not necessarily a linear path in your career. A lot of it is around experimenting, trying new things, putting yourself into different situations, being okay with pivoting in your career and trying new things. And I think it's going to be more important than ever is that ability to pivot, because a lot of the roles that we're doing now, are they going to be relevant in the next few years? I don't know. So I think it's just important to kind of keep your mind nimble and be able to move in different directions quickly, because it's almost impossible to know where design will be in 5 years' time. So yeah, so keep an eye on that for details around that. Okay, so once that goes out on our socials, register, and then we'll connect you with someone great. Okay, also register an ABN. Okay, Australian business number. Okay, when you're looking for work, put your business owner hat on. Instead of being a job seeker, actually set your own business up, okay? And it'll do wonders for your mindset around that. Register a business name. Give yourself a business agency name and declare yourself as a freelancer, okay? Have that on there. And it doesn't matter what work you pick up. If it's working with the local cafe, redesigning a menu, whether it's doing something that is very small, low paid, it's just crafting your mind and making you like really sharp when it comes to that. And again, it's giving you a story to tell a potential future employer. Okay, so the simple process of registering an ABN, having a name, will start the process. Okay, have it on your LinkedIn. Have the list of services that you offer. Is that right? Okay. it's far more compelling than just having a blank. Okay, and lean into that. Okay, start calling yourself a freelancer until you land that first position. Okay, feels a bit impostery. Am I faking it? Well, everyone is. Like everyone is, you know, like it, and you don't know what that first bit of work might be. It might even be free work you do for your dad, or you know what it doesn't need to be that, but it's those small steps at the start could really lead into something big, and it just builds up that experience. Okay. I would also as well, if you are building portfolios, I 100% recommend building a website and having that as your place to showcase work. Okay, Dropboxes and PDFs and all of it feels already a bit dated, and I can tell you now that all the top creatives that I work with now have a website, and it literally clearly shows the work, presents work. It's easy to navigate, and it's something that you might as well start now and work on and use that as that's your foundation. That's where you put all your work when it goes onto it, and that's what just continually evolves as your career evolves. Okay, far easier than doing PDFs and etc. So get a website built. There's Envato, there's there's loads of really cheap, affordable websites, templates that you can start using. Okay. Cool. Okay. Where's that? Cool. Okay. Cool. So I just wanted to share with you some names of some people that I would I'd recommend to follow on LinkedIn. That again will help with content, but will also, I think, help just from a mindset and growth mindset perspective and whatnot. So Justin Welsh is a guy on LinkedIn who his whole content is around solopreneur and working for yourself and starting off, really, like I said just then, doing a little bit on the side, and that builds momentum. And he's hugely successful LinkedIn content creator, and I think he's got some really interesting views on that. Michael Saliba is a guy who used to work with us. I hired him as a grad, and he started as an intern, and then he became a marketer, and now he's creating content regularly, and just a really lovely guy. And I think he's a great example of someone who began as a grad, probably felt like he didn't have anything to say, and then just went on the journey, and he's now posting fairly regularly. Rosie Chong as well is an old candidate of ours who posts regularly, does a lot of personal content as well. And then Joel Laggy, Sean Anderson, and Mitch King. We'll send you all these to follow as well if you're just looking for people to do. Okay. So yeah. And I'm just going to finish on some final thoughts, okay, around your career and whatnot. So things that I think are very undervalued, a call center experience, okay, getting that experience, dealing with customers and understanding how customers work will help in any shape or form, whether it be design, whether it be anything. I think just understanding how a customer works. Same goes with hospitality as well. I know a lot of people think that hospitality is a level below the corporate. I think it's the opposite. I think that those who are really great at hospitality can really apply those skills to marketing and to general business in the sense. I've also said, don't worry if you haven't got it figured out yet. I think particularly nowadays, there's a big pressure on lots of people to have that career and to be hitting the title and the pay and have all those things. But generally, I think most people don't have it figured out. I think people are all trying to figure it out. And I think that being open to trying new things and trying to build experience is probably where I see the really real priority. I think soft skills are going to play an even bigger part in the makeup of someone's desirability over the coming years. I think when everything becomes more automated and tech's going to take over, I think having soft skills and being able to connect with people on an emotional level, they're all skills that I think have always been important, but are going to be even more important. Okay, so I don't think necessarily chasing the tech. I think it's about finding a good mentor, finding those people that are going to help you and learn from that. Okay, and don't underestimate the impact of that ability to make people feel good. That's something which is, for a lot of people, their secret weapon. So if you're sat there and you have got that ability to make people feel great, don't assume that that's not important, because I think it's very, very important. And then look, try new experiences. Everyone's just it's experimenting, right? Particularly if you're at the start of your career, it's not being afraid or trying new things. Okay, I definitely didn't think I'd be doing this career 10 years ago. So it's funny how things turn out. Okay, so and just have fun. Okay, I think that we do forget that this is the creative industry. It's fun. It's not. It should be fun. And if that's something that fuels creativity, so where you do find yourself, try not to take it too seriously and enjoy it.
Jack has a question. Any tips for people living in regional areas versus city?
I guess. Are you? How far out are you?
About an hour and a half. About.
Okay. And are you looking to? Would you commute or?
I'm happy to commute. I've moved before when I was applying, but unfortunately didn't have much success, and I've had to move back.
Yeah.
But I do know on my resume, obviously saying I live a bit further away defers a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so although I'm happy for the commute, a lot of businesses aren't happy for me to commute. And so I guess is there any way to improve that without moving again?
Look, I think that the natural feeling for businesses, particularly with juniors, is that they, for them to develop and for them to have the best chance of success, they do need to be in the office. So, I think it's a personal decision you probably need to come to is, are you willing to change that? I'm being very honest with you. Like I could say to you, keep applying, being regional, but the reality is you've got the odds stacked against you if you're competing with people that are in the area and are happy to go in each day. So I think that's probably a question that you may have to look at, because I don't imagine the creative space being prominent in regional towns anytime soon, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, it's a tad quiet down here.
Yeah. I'm sure it's lovely, but for you to give yourself the best opportunity, then maybe that's another sort of conversation with yourself.
Thanks for that.
That's all right. I've got 7 more minutes if anyone has any other questions. No, all good.
No, I cannot.
Yeah.
Following on from the internships question.
Yeah.
Now, I thought we could really only do internships as part of uni courses or uni degrees, but not otherwise from a legal standpoint. So I'm just, I'd like to know a bit more about that, since, Tulsi, you mentioned that you had yours. So I'm just, curious to hear a bit more about how that sort of all works in a non-uni course related thing.
Yeah, do you want to? Yeah, look, I don't.
I've done about 4 internships before I got a full-time job, and while some places will only accept you if you're a uni student, because they might have like partnerships with unis and that kind of stuff. All of the internships that I did, both while I was at uni and post-uni, were not to do with my degree at all. Not through the university, so you can apply for them.
Okay, no, that's good to know, because that was always my understanding that legally, but no, that's handy. I'm definitely going to look into that a bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just add to that. Don't let that hold you back. Even ones that do say, oh, must be studying tertiary education or recently finished. I've just still been applying for those anyway, and I have heard back from a few of them. I haven't made it, but you know, I'd say just throw your hat in the ring and see what happens. But yeah, it's I was the same. I was like, wait, I can apply for internships.
Yeah.
Like I do not fit the traditional internship mold. I've just hit my 30s. So, and I'm actually with an intern who's in her late 30s. So we're kind of, you know, breaking the stereotype, but they do exist. And yeah, you should definitely go for them, even if it feels like it's not meant for you. It's a really good learning experience. And,
no, because just my assumption or my understanding always was that you couldn't really just do one not a uni student. So no, that after this, I'm definitely having a look at internship. Yes.
Definitely.
I think that's it. You know, I think rip up the conventional rule book and put yourself out there and try things. And again, that's the way of displaying that entrepreneurial initiative that companies want in abundance, right? And you know, if you can show that, that's what people want. They find it very difficult to describe that's what they look for in people, but if you can show that, that's how you're going to get the job. Right, it's that spark that people want, particularly with minimal experience. They want someone who's going to go, do you know what? I'm just going to get stuck in, and I'm not going to worry if I don't have all the answers. I'm going to learn it as I go along. And it's that curiosity and kind of tenacity that you want. So just go for it. What's the worst that happens?
Exactly. Someone says no. Okay, moving on.
Exactly.
Yes.
But look, please, everyone, keep in touch. You know, obviously we're limited to what we can go through in an hour. And as I said, if there's specific questions that you want to take, you know, on a one-on-one basis, please reach out to me. You know, drop me a line when once you've got something sorted and stuff. I really want to hear about it as well. And yeah, just keep cracking on. And you know, it's that two mindsets: growth mindset and seeing the opportunity, or seeing the restrictions. And you know, go with A, and I'm sure you'll be fine.